Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. About a week ago, I posted a video of myself reacting to my college decisions. If you haven't seen that video, go ahead and click somewhere up there. I'm gonna try and see if I can get it in here, but yeah, if you haven't seen the video, go ahead and watch that. So if you watched that video, then you know I applied to 28 colleges and I got into 14 of them. Perhaps most notably Rice University, NYU, UC Berkeley, University of Michigan, Boston College, Tulane, UMiami, Emory University, and Howard University. So I had a number of people ask me to post a stats video where I talk about my high school stats, GPA, SAT, AP scores, all the clubs and extracurriculars, pretty much everything. I'm also going to be filming a couple of videos talking about some of my essays. I think I'm gonna do separate videos, one reading my Common App essay, my UC Berkeley essays, which I don't remember at all. It'll be kind of fun to revisit those. Maybe my Rice essays. So if you guys want me to do a video about my essays, obviously I applied to a lot of schools, so I wrote a lot of essays. So if you want to tell me specifically what school you want me to read my essays to, I will do that. Anyway, so now we're gonna get into the video. At the end of the first semester of senior year, I had a 4.106, and my school doesn't tell us our unweighted GPAs, but I did have to ask for my unweighted GPAs for a couple of scholarships I was applying for in the beginning of second semester. When I asked for those, my unweighted GPA was a 3.803. My school doesn't rank us, so we don't know what our ranks are. They just don't tell us that, so I don't know what my rank is. Moving on to classes, I'm going to run over the classes that I took from freshman year up until now. To preface this, when I began high school, I was in a program called STEM, which was a high school program that had pretty much just started at my school. They told us about it in 8th grade. It was like a STEM focused curriculum, and we had to apply for it. We had to be interviewed for it. It was a whole ordeal. Like, we had to have a teacher give us a letter of recommendation, and we found out who was in and who was not. So I ended up getting accepted into that program. It was supposed to be for all 4 years, but I did not continue past freshman year. And the reason for that was because it was my school's second year doing it. So the year that I was in, it was just not what we thought it was gonna be. It was supposed to be like an integrated STEM program where our math and science courses were like, you know, meshed together. So we had a more like, you know, STEM focused understanding, but it was pretty disorganized, which, you know, makes sense because it was only like their second year. So I was just like, I don't really want to do it. If it was now, like if I was a freshman right now, I'd probably definitely do it. I'd definitely stay in it. I'm like low-key jealous of the people who are freshmen now because the program is like so much better now. But when I was a freshman, it just was not what it is now. A lot of us actually dropped out. I think when I started my freshman year, we started with like 30 kids, and by the next year I think we dropped down to like 8 kids. So it wasn't a good fit for me at the time. I'm going to read off the classes that I took. I tried to take rigorous courses. I would say I took a lot of APs. I took 9, I think. I know some people have taken 11, 12, 13. The schedule did have a lot of rigor in it. I challenged myself pretty much wherever I could. Going into high school, I had already taken Spanish 1 and Algebra 1. I had taken both of those classes 8th grade. So then my freshman year, I took 2 semesters of gym class. I took honors English 9. And my school, we don't weigh honors classes. I think honors classes are weighed the same way that regular classes are, but we just call them honors classes because they're harder than the regular classes. I took world history. After that, I had my STEM courses. So my STEM courses were STEM biology, STEM geometry, STEM algebra 2, and STEM intro to engineering. So the last 3 hours of my day I was in the STEM program. We took STEM biology, which was basically more advanced. We took geometry and algebra 2 at the same time, and then we also had our intro to engineering class where we basically applied geometry to CAD. So we used this software called CAD on the computer where we would design things. I know that we made a guitar that year. Freshmen don't really take any APs at my school. I don't think we're allowed to. 2, but then sophomore year you can take AP US History or APUSH. So my sophomore year I took APUSH, I took Chem 215, which at my school we had Chem 210 and Chem 215. Chem 210 was easier, so I opted to take Chem 215. I took Child Development. I took second semester of Forensic Science, and I say that because there's 2 different semesters of that class. Different things are taught in both of them. I ended up taking the first semester of Forensic Science my junior year, but that year I took the second semester because I just needed something in my schedule. I took Health, I took Honors English 10, I took Pre-Calc because that was just the next math class that was available. I took Spanish 2, and I took Theater. Spanish 2 I actually took online during the summer between freshman and sophomore year just to get that credit out of the way. So the next year, my junior year, I took AP Calc BC, AP Chemistry, AP Language and Composition, AP US Government and Politics, Forensic Science the first semester, History versus Hollywood, and Psychology. History versus Hollywood, if you're wondering, it was just like this really, it was pretty easy class. We basically watched movies that had to do with historical events, and we answered questions about them. We discussed like the difference between the real event that happened and the movie they made about it. Then coming into my senior year, first semester, I took AP Stats, this senior leadership English class, AP Environmental Science, AP Literature and Composition, AP Psychology, and I took Foundations of Programming. This semester I'm taking pretty much the same exact classes, except for instead of Foundations of Programming, I'm now taking AP Macroeconomics. So as you can see, I took a lot of rigorous classes throughout my high school career. I knew that it was important that I took difficult classes to show that I was challenging myself and still doing well. I took the SAT twice, only because the second time it was the school SAT, so we all had to take that. The first time I took it, I just really wanted to get some practice. It was junior year. I knew the SAT was coming up, and I knew that there were people that had been prepping for it for like months, maybe years, and I had not really started thinking about it until, well, thinking about it seriously until like December. So then I started thinking, okay, I should probably take it before I actually take the school SAT. Which I actually do not recommend, as some colleges ask for your entire testing history. So if you take it like their actual real SAT and you do badly, some colleges are going to see that, and if that bothers you, then you might just want to take a practice SAT. So that when I take the school SAT, I can be a little bit more prepared. So I decided to take it. I took it March 9th. And I studied for it. I used Khan Academy. I also did a video on how I studied for the SAT, so if you guys want to see that, I'm gonna link it up here somewhere so you guys can go watch that and get some tips on how to study for it. I think I studied really intensely for it, like a good 3 or 2 weeks before the test. And before that I studied here and there, but I wasn't like super involved. And I got my results back and I ended up getting a 1520, which I was not expecting. My goal SAT score was 1450. I think my thought process was, okay, if I can go into this and get like at least a 1400, if I can go into this and get at least a 1400, then when I take the SAT at my school, I'll be able to, you know, probably up my score to 1450. So yeah, the first time I took it, I got a 1520. So then going into the school SAT, I was just not worried about it. I did not feel like studying for it. We took the SAT right when we got off of spring break. I was having fun over spring break. I went to Mexico. I was not trying to think about studying for SAT. I was like, you know what? I already got a 1520. I got into the range that I wanted, achieved my goal score, so what's the point in studying? I'm just gonna enjoy my spring break. So I did not study for that one at all. I didn't think about it at all. Everybody at school was stressing about it. I was like I really just did not care. I didn't put any thought into that at all. I literally walked into it, hadn't studied not one bit, took the SAT. When we got our scores back, the second time I got a 1420, which is understandable. But now looking back at it, I kind of do wish I put a little bit of effort into studying, just because like I probably could have gotten, if I would have studied, I probably could have my score like by at least 10 points. But at that point it really wouldn't have mattered, because it's a 1530 that much different from 1520? Probably not. So yeah, I never took the SAT again after that. I thought about it, but I was just like, you know, once you get into the 1500 range, you shouldn't really try to kill yourself to get that perfect 1600. I did not really know much about SAT subject tests until I started watching stats videos and people would talk about SAT subject tests, and I was like, okay, most of the videos that I'm watching, people are taking SAT subject tests, so maybe this is something that I have to take. So then I started doing research on it, and I realized I should probably take at least 2, just so I can be, you know, a little bit more of a competitive applicant. I didn't do horrible, but I don't think I did as good as I could have. My mindset was like, okay, I just took AP chemistry, you know, I'm in AP Calc BC. How hard can these SAT subject tests be, like, honestly? But don't believe that. You should definitely study for your SAT subject tests as if they're an entire different test than your AP test, because they are. Don't rely on your knowledge from your AP test to take those, which I pretty much did, and I ended up getting a 720 on chemistry and a 710 on math too, which isn't bad really. I feel like once you're in the 700 range and above is good if you're going for super selective schools, but I know that a lot of people get 800s on math level 2. Like, everyone gets 800 on math level 2, so when I first got my scores I was like, that's not good. But I was just like, I'm not gonna put myself through that again. I took them. When I applied to colleges, I had only taken 3 AP tests. I took AP Chemistry, AP Calc BC, and AP Lang all in the same year. I got 4s on all of those. I probably could have gotten a 5 on AP Lang for sure. Calc BC and Chemistry were both super difficult, so I had to allot most of my time to those subjects, and I did not spend a lot of time on AP Lang. So I ended up with 4s on all of them, which I'm pretty happy with. And I have more AP tests this summer, but obviously those don't matter because by the time I get my scores for those, I'll already be committed to a college. I did a lot of extracurriculars during high school, so I'm gonna pull them up off of my Common App so I can remember to mention all of them. So for one, I was actually the president of the National Honor Society at my school my senior year, and I just was, you know, a regular member my junior year. I also did student government at my school. My senior year, I was a senior representative. Basically, we had 2 presidents, we had a vice president, and then we had senior reps, and then just regular senior members. I was a senior rep. I ran for that. Additionally, I did cheerleading for 3 out of the 4 years of high school. I started sophomore year. I did varsity, sideline, and competitive. I did a lot of community service. I volunteered a lot at this place called Kids Food Basket, which is near my school. You go there, you like pack lunches, and basically what they do is they provide lunches to kids that are going through situations where they don't have access to food that easily. I coached for our school's youth program, so we have a youth cheer program. I coached for the 7th and 8th grade team senior year, so we'd have to, you know, run practices, we have to go to their games. It wasn't paid, it was just purely volunteering. On my Common App, I put this club called Senior Advisory Board at my school, which we don't really meet much. We just we coordinate certain events for the senior class. I mean, now we really got cut short because of COVID-19, but I decided to put that on there just because it was another club. I also did diversity club at my school. We did events such as International Fair, which I did freshman year, sophomore year, and junior year. Senior year, I just kind of wanted to enjoy it as a spectator rather than a facilitator. I didn't want to do a booth senior year because it's really time consuming to do a booth. But International Fair, what that was is that you create this huge booth. You have information on posters, you have food from the certain country or culture that you're representing, you have clothes, all types of things that represent that country. They do a fashion show, they do entertainment show, so like you can do like dances from that country, or you can show like fashion that is popular in that country. So I did that for 3 years. We actually won sophomore year. Also, we did things like diversity days. We ran a blood drive. On Martin Luther King Day every year we do a march. So my senior year, I led the march where you march through the school and the students learn about different marches throughout history that were really prominent, such as women's suffrage, LGBTQ+ rights, obviously civil rights. And I also gave a speech speech this year at our assembly that day on Martin Luther King Day. I just talked about nonviolent protests. In addition to that, I worked 3 jobs throughout my high school career. I worked at Red Lobster for about a year. I worked at Panera for a summer. Right now I work at Target. I also go to youth group at my church, and through that youth group I went on a mission trip last year. We went to the DR for a week. We were supposed to go this year, but unfortunately that got canceled due to COVID-19, which I'm really sad about. So those were pretty much all the extracurriculars I did. I took a lot of rigorous courses, and at the same time I challenged myself outside of school. I tried to take leadership positions in clubs because yes, it's always great to show that you're getting involved in clubs, but it's even more impressive when you show that you can take leadership and like do, you know, run for certain positions and show that you are much more involved than just any other member. I think it's very impressive if you can do a varsity sport while you are taking hard classes. I know for sure, especially junior year when I was taking calc and chem at the same time, I was having hours and hours of homework every night, but then I also had hours and hours of practice. Like competitive cheer is time consuming. We had 2.5-hour practices daily. We had competitions Saturday morning. Sundays were really our only day off, and to be taking, you know, APs at the same time. Well, I guess my advice would be to anybody who's trying to figure out how to kind of market themselves. It's important to show that you can handle rigorous courses. So I wouldn't say just take every AP you can get your hands on, because if you do poorly in those APs, it's really not going to mean anything. Definitely challenge yourself, but make sure that you know your limit. There's a certain point where you're going to be stretching yourself too thin, and you know where that point is, because you're going to be, I mean, it's okay to be stressed out at times, but if you're stressed out to the point where you can't get things done, then that's when you know you have way too much on your plate. And it's okay to say, okay, I have too much on my plate right now. I'm not going to join a new club. I'm not going to do this. I need to focus on my academics. But you also want to make sure that you have other things going on outside of just academic. Colleges, they're looking at you as a person, not numbers. So grades, yes, they mean a lot, but if you're not doing anything besides getting good grades, they're not going to see you as competitive as someone that's, you know, getting good grades and also outside of school is doing all this stuff. Those are basically my stats throughout high school. I definitely want to make sure that I stress that stats aren't everything. Stats do not make you who you are. You don't have to have a 1600 SAT to be smart. You don't have to, you know, some people are just not good at testing. Some people, you know, just don't do well under pressure. It's good to have, you know, stats that are good, that help you, you know, be comparable to other applicants, because yes, there's going to be people applying to selective schools that have amazing test scores, but just make sure that you know that stats are not everything. They do not define you. You are much more than your grades. You are much more than your SAT score, your AP scores. You are way more than that. So make sure you keep that in mind. Make sure you challenge yourself, you know, kind of step outside the box, step out of your comfort zone. I definitely tried to step out of my comfort zone. Running for positions such as like president or senior rep was a little bit nerve-wracking. Well, no, not even a little bit. It was very nerve-wracking for me. I had to give a speech. I had to talk on stage. I had to talk in front of people, and I was so nervous about that. And honestly, I look back at it, I'm like, I don't even know how I did that. I don't even know how I got on stage and sat there and spoke in front of all those people. But in the end of the day, I don't regret it at all. It helped me develop my leadership skills, and even if I didn't get elected, I still would be very proud of myself. That would be my advice for you guys. For anybody who is watching this video and is planning to apply to selective schools, just keep those things in mind. Let me know if you guys want specifically any type of videos regarding school, regarding advice with college applications that you want to see. I will definitely make some videos on that. Definitely subscribe to my channel. Make sure you like this video, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.